Welcome back to another edition of Racing World. Well, we're talking Indy and we're talking the Indianapolis 500 and the two-day open test that finished this morning New Zealand time. What can you take from it? Not a lot, but you can take a lot if that makes sense. There's a lot of probably potential sandbagging going on there. I wonder whether Chevy are holding back a little bit, considering how dominant they were last year. We were seeing Honda cars more towards the front of the field than we had seen 12 months ago. So, there's a game of gamesmanship. It is actually only April. The teams go away for a couple of weeks now and then come back, and then it gets really serious. But we can take a lot of things away from this test, and we're going to touch on a lot of those throughout this show today. The positive thing I will say for New Zealand viewers is the fact that all three Kiwis were in the mix all the time across both days, putting in good times. Dixon topping the timesheets on day one, McLaughlin topping the timesheets on the high boost run on day two, and Marcus Armstrong, solid performance across both days. So very promising to see from young Armstrong. And I think the alliance between the MSR cars and the CGR cars from Ganassi, we're starting to see some results of that, because at one stage nearly all of them were inside the top 10, and certainly Palau and Dixon for CGR, and then Rosenquist, Elio and Marcus were all in there for MSR. So I'd take a lot from that and know that come the rest of the month of May as such, they're going to be contenders. But there was a lot of things that came out of day one. The one noticeable thing, of course, at the end of the day was Graham Rahal hitting the wall very lightly, hit it twice, sort of bounced off it and then hit it again. Rahal's got a lot of pressure on him in the sense that, he's been on the cut line for the bump for the last 2 years, can't really afford to have it happen again. So there'll be a lot of soul searching going on there. I'm sure there was overnight. But the thing about all of this is that teams got to remain calm. If you start losing the plot now, you'll never get it back. So that's just something to watch out for moving forward. But all 34 cars of the 33 that will make the race took the field on day one. And as I said, not a lot to come out of day one. They lost a lot of time on track because of an internet connection problem, which meant the teams in pit lane couldn't get data and various other bits and pieces, so the session was put on hold. It ran an extra hour till 7 o'clock because it's now light enough in Indiana to be able to do that. But with the rookie orientation and the refresher program, there wasn't that much to take away from day one, other than Dixon topping the timesheets and his new teammate in a strange, quirky way for the first time ever this year, Elio Castro-Neves, was in amongst it as well and got the chance to catch up with Elio.
Just getting to the rhythm back together. They did an amazing job. Can't think enough of MSR for, again, putting this program together for just one race. And you guys already been here so many years that you understand how hard it is. Even that is, you have teammates, but it's a brand new program. So we went through without any issues, some electrical issues, but they were able to resolve that during the break. And so now it's just we're just getting back in the wagon here, and myself as well. With the hybrid, it's a new system, so we're understanding. Many times in the beginning I forgot to press it because you're just so focused, what to do, and obviously muscle memory kicks in and you keep doing what you're doing. But overall was pretty good, and feel that I think Chevy's playing some game here, so we're just gonna continue doing our thing. We had some moments out there. I'm not sure if it was the weight or not. Watching some Pete race and some other race in the comments, what they did on the road course, maybe that's what I was feeling. But we quickly make some adjustments in the car. You just got to continue doing, changes and improving what we feel is best. The only thing now is finding when to deploy and when to recharge and things like that.
Well, you certainly always listen to the words that Elio Castro-Neves says. Why? Well, he's won the race 4 times for a start, and this guy knows how to position himself at the right time in the race. It's not about the first 25, not about the first 50. It's about those last few. And Elio, time and time again, has put himself in a position to win the race. Seeing the cars so strong this year early up, I think that's a good sign for the fact that you cannot count out potentially our first 5-time winner of the great race, and that would just be absolutely phenomenal. Another one, of course, that always has a bit of attention around him. A lot of attention last year, maybe not quite so much this year. Kyle Larson trying to do the double again. There was a lot of hype last year about Larson being there. I think it's a little bit more subdued this year, both from them and the public. And they're just kind of getting on with their program. But McLaren kind of didn't really feel like they were on top of their game on day one. And again, not sure what you take from that, if anything. And Larson kind of looked a little bit uncomfortable as well. He had issues with team radio to his helmet at one stage. Saw crew working on his earpieces and all sorts of things. But of course, the big new thing for Larson is the hybrid unit. So we asked him about that.
Messed around with it a little bit there. It was, hearing them describe it to me was a bit confusing, but once I got out there and all that, it was okay. I didn't really feel like it does much of anything to like help you. It definitely helps. It doesn't hurt, but it's not like you get like this massive boost down the straightaway or anything like that. Like I feel like whenever I would hit it, I get like a initial kind of handful of horsepower and then it just flattens out to normal. So like you can kind of close and then you just stall out. So, and then, like I mentioned about the balance stuff, I don't know if what I'm feeling there is due to the hybrid stuff. I think it's a fair bit heavier car than last year and rearward as well. So I feel like that's what I might be feeling, but I just would like to talk to my teammates, see what they felt, to see if it's similar.
And then equally, this question did come up during the press conference, and Larson competing in so many things with his sprint car program in the US, along with the Cup Series in NASCAR, this one-off for the 500 and various other bits and pieces he does. What else was on his bucket list? And it's really, after seeing him at Western Spring Speedway just a few years ago now, it was quirky to see the fact that he's still keen to come down under.
It's tough. It's really tough to run big races because I'm racing 54 weekends of the year pretty much. So I don't know, but one that kind of stands out to me and hopefully we can kind of put it together down the road would be I'd like to run a supercar in particular Adelaide. It's their finale. They have a sprint car track in the city as well, so I could do both. So I would like to do that. There's been some conversations, so we'll see where it kind of goes. But for right now, it's hard to like look that far ahead because I got Indy, which is a big deal right now, and we're pretty ingrained in the Cup season as well.
So at the end of the first day, real notables, as I said, Dixon on top of the timesheets, Rahal hitting the wall, everyone completing rookie orientation or refresher programs, so all 34 cars good to progress to the next day. Other than that, not a lot to take from it. Weather, absolutely perfect, considering how much rain and tornado warnings and everything else that there's been around the state of Indiana and the area that surrounds Indiana as well. It was great to see 2 good days here. Track started to rubber up, so it made it very promising heading into day 2, which dawned exactly the same. So these were very spring-like temperatures, not dissimilar maybe to what we might see in about a month's time when the race actually happens. So that was encouraging and a good benchmark for the teams. Low wind. The track is certainly affected by wind at times, and it can change the performance of the car. So all of those things came into play. But the one new thing on day 2 was the fact that they got to run with the high boost setting, which has not been done before at the open test, partially because they wanted to see what the IndyCar wanted to see what the engines would do under the high boost setting with the hybrid unit. So were the manufacturers, Chevy and Honda. So there was a session of high boost, which we would normally only get on Fast Friday, the day before qualifying weekend. And it was just interesting to get some of the reaction from that. And one of the teams, again, performing very well, having cars placed in the top 10 at various times across the weekend, was Andretti Global. And Kyle Kirkwood was one to talk about the hybrid unit.
Feel like we actually missed on gears because it was faster than we anticipated, which is a positive thing. We were anticipating it being quite a bit slower because you can only use it once. You're flat. You're not going to regen anywhere in a quality sim. So if anything, it's just hurting your speed with the added weight. And we expect it to be a bit slower, and that actually wasn't the case. We were in pretty decent times compared to our speeds compared to last year. So not so bad, I would say. It doesn't feel anything crazy. I just say with the added weight, people are going to be a lot more scared to trim to the level that they have in the past. I think last year guys were -7, -7.5, I think below was at one point 2 years ago when he got the pole. So I don't see any way that you'll see those kind of numbers as we had in the past trim wise.
Well, Andretti running 4 cars at this year's 500 because Marco's back in a car as his sort of one-off appearance that he's done for the last few years. Not sure how many more years that'll carry on for, but all 4 cars were competitive. They played what you do with 4 cars, and they ran as a pack by themselves for a few laps as well, and they were playing follow the leader and that sort of thing. When you have a big team like that, you can afford to do that. They used to do that when they ran 5 cars. A little bit harder to do when you're 3, and certainly harder if you've got less cars than that. But promising sign from Andretti Global, and again a Honda powered entry, so there's a lot of boxes being ticked in that department, but I don't think that people have really played their hands yet. There was, of course, another couple of notable things during the high boost run, and that was it claimed 2 victims. Sato hitting the wall starting sort of towards turn 1, ended up in turn 2 and did a lot of damage to that car, so much so that Rahals took it straight back to the race shop, didn't even try and do anything at the track. Sato being very quick on day 1. Disappointed to see that happen. He's a very likeable driver, but that car was a bit of a mess afterwards, that's for sure. And the Rahal team, that's just another drama that they don't ever really need. And then the other notable casualty, which happened just before Sato's one, was Kyle Larson, understeering car into turn 1, kind of bounced off the wall, and then it was pretty much destined to hit the wall again. A softer hit, as Larson said, he's now felt what it's like to crash an Indy car and walk away from it. It wasn't that much of a harder hit. He was out of the car pretty quickly, but again, the team chose to do the repair work at the race shop rather than at the track. So both those drivers didn't compete in the afternoon session. They were the notable victims, if you like, of day 2 and of the 2-day test. Plenty of time to work on those cars, but it highlighted a few points. And for anyone who's on our tour this year, which I know there's a few people that are coming up to Indianapolis with us, the same as last year for the people that were on that, both those accidents happened today, turn 1, turn 2. Your seats are in the very best place, that's for sure. And I think anyone on the tour last year can vouch for the fact that 90% of the accidents that happened during the race last year happened in that area. And we've seen 2 already over this day to day. So those seats are looking good for you. So I hope you enjoy that tour, and we'll be on the road in a few weeks' time. For those of you who want to do an Indy tour sometime, let's talk, because there's always a chance for 2026. Some surprising lack of laps early on, and then bolted together quite a few laps near the end of day 2 was Alex Palou, our current championship leader. Alex has never won on an oval before. He's got very close at Indy. It's one of those races again where everything has to come together. The pit stops, everything, the preparation, the race itself, traffic, you name it. But Palau certainly had a few things to say about the hybrid unit as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how it looks compared to others. I'll need to review all the footage as well. I felt good. I didn't feel like amazing. I think it was quite tough to pass. It depends always during testing. It always depends on like your fuel, your tires. Sometimes you go out on tires that are 10 lap old and you cannot move, and then suddenly you go out on new tires and you're like King Kong out there. So yeah, I think it's tough to take a lot of conclusions, but yeah, I felt really good on traffic.
Alex was one of those drivers who I felt actually spoke honestly at the press conference. I think across the drivers that I'd heard from both days, there'd been mixed variations, shall we say, of what they felt about the hybrid unit, what they felt that their preparation was going like. Traditional sandbagging, you can't blame them for it. It's all about trying to win perhaps one of the biggest races in the world. So it was quite interesting just to hear Alex then being more open, I feel, than most drivers. Again, is that a case of sandbagging as well? You just never know, but great to hear from him. Then rounding out the show today, got the chance to talk to our Kiwi who topped the timesheets during the boost session, where the teams had more boost that they will get on qualifying day, and it was, of course, Kiwi Scot McLaughlin. I heard during commentary from Hinchcliffe over the YouTube feed was the fact that New Zealand has the second highest number of drivers in the Indy 500 with 3, along with the UK, and then the US with 15. So as a Kiwi, how's that make you feel to know that we've got 3 drivers that are potentially going to be in this race again?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, you're a little country that punches above our weight, as you know, and one of those guys is an absolute legend. of the sport, probably the greatest of all time, is Scott Dixon. So he's done an amazing job, put New Zealand on the map, and then having Marcus here and now myself, yeah, it's a cool thing. So yeah, I think it's exciting for the Kiwis back home. And yeah, hopefully we can put up the front for them. I felt like we got through a lot from a hybrid perspective. And then yeah, I felt like the morning qualifying session or high boost session was a bit of a crapshoot, you could say. Like just a couple of those yellows, and then when the track got better, it was a bit dirty from some of the shunts as well, and so then everyone was trying to cram a lot in 40 minutes. But yeah, look, overall, really solid balance to kick off the month of May. The car is certainly different with the extra weight and whatnot. And I think speaking to a lot of the drivers, I think we all concur the same thoughts. It's different, so it's fun. It's fun to get used to and understand it, and yeah, I felt like I really sort of honed in on a lot of things at a low intensity level, just to feel the car and see where we're at.
Slightly more towards the month of May rather than the open test itself. There's a couple of things that are going to happen. One, your pit box is going to move probably multiple times during the next few phases of being at the IMS track. And then just wondered also the way you're going to come into the pits using the true race pit in. Those variables, how easy or how hard are they to adjust to?
Yeah, well, I guess the pit in, for one, we don't get to practice that really until Monday of race week. So that's probably the only thing I think all us drivers probably would want to try and practice it, say today on the hot stops. But because we have too many cars in pit lane, the safety is to bring the speed limiter closer to the end of the pylon there, end of the attenuator. So that does take a little bit to get used to. You want to practice that pretty hard on Monday and then carb day. And then the pit box thing you just got to deal with. You have marks throughout the run to practice in and out laps where you're ever going to be. But yeah, I don't think I've had the same pit box here ever. So it's just, hopefully we can have the same one this year as last year, because that was pole.
And then just finally, looking away from this now, Barber next week and then the Grand Prix back on the road course here. How difficult is it to change your mindset from what you've just spent 2 days doing to get back into effectively thinking about the championship and race wins? And obviously Barber's a special place for you as well.
Yeah, no, it definitely takes a couple of laps to just sort of get acquainted to a road course again. Your head's moving around a little bit more because you're not on the headrest and whatnot. But it won't take too long. And we had a test there not long ago, so. Yeah, Barber and Indy, for me, Indy GP hasn't been that kind to me, particularly in qualifying. So I'm trying to tidy that up a little bit, and we'll be okay. But yeah, need to sort of get back on track a little bit. But had a solid run at Long Beach, and hopefully can keep going.
Try and avoid the mannequins at Barber this year as well.
Yeah, they helped me last year, actually.
Well, we'll bring up the chocolate and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Dave. Cheers.
Thanks, David. Safe travels back.
McLaughlin again doing the job for Team Penske, and just a stunning performance last year when he took out that pole position. I remember looking at it when I was standing there just going, wow, where's that coming from? And it held all the way through. And to get pole at Indy now, you've got to do it the hard way. You've got to get through the first day to get into effectively the fast 12, which becomes a 9, which then, you do the shootout for pole. So you've got to do it multiple times over the 4-lap average. And, to do that is no small feat. It takes a lot of bravery, a lot of skill, and a lot of car setup. So, can McLaughlin do it again this year? Yes, firmly, I believe he can, but there are many others that can. And what we will see on qualifying weekend that I believe we saw last year as well, was the change in fortunes between Chevy and Honda, where suddenly everything swung the Chevy way. Not coming out of the open test thinking quite that, just like we did last year, where, Penske were very, very strong at the test. But I am thinking that there's more to Chevy, and there will be more to Chevy come qualifying weekend. Is it important where you start at the 500? Certainly helps to start in the first dozen cars, that's for sure. But you can win it from further back. It's been proven before. But it'll make for a very, very interesting race. And of course, the big thing that I spoke with Scott about there was the Kiwis. 3 Kiwis in this race, making us the second highest nation in driver participation potentially in the 500. 15 Americans, 3 New Zealanders and 3 from the UK, and then various other countries after that. But what you've got to consider, and I started this in our last show, is the fact that overall we have nearly 7 young New Zealanders competing across the greater series, whether it be IndyCar, Indy Next with Callum Hedge and Liam Skeets, and then the USF Pro 2000 series with Jacob Douglas and Sebastian Manson. So there are 7 Kiwis up there doing their thing. And again, I'm going to say this, that I think that the New Zealand media needs to get behind the ones that are on their way up because they deserve the support. They need the support. The more established are still getting the support, but they're locked in deals and they're pretty well solid. Armstrong still needs the support, and then certainly the other 4 do. And it'd be great for a nation to remember the fact that we have this depth of driving talent in this country that comes out of this country, and they're there on the world stage, and we need to sing their praises every so often. So that's my little beef for this week, if you like. And I'm not ignoring all the other people that compete around the world, whether it be SVG, Hayden Paddington Rally, the boys in Formula E, all of that sort of stuff. Not forgetting them whatsoever, but it is very significant that we are the second highest nation, jointly with the UK, of driver participation in what will be the 109th running of the Indy 500, and I think that's quite valid. Anyway, that kind of sums up the open test. So as I said, what do we take from it? Well, if you look at this, Palau topped the timesheets. In some ways, not a surprise. He's the current championship leader. He's on a real roll this season. Will that roll continue when the teams head to Alabama in a few weeks' time? McLaughlin won there last year, so you'd like to think that maybe he delivers a double down there. And then come the 500, anything is possible. Palau's won the Indy Grand Prix a couple of times. Will Powers featured well in that. And he was a guy that was quite under the radar during the test. So there's a lot to come. Will Power, of course, in a contract negotiation year with Penske. So nothing better to secure a contract than a 500 win, that's for sure. So watch that space as well. There is so much more to come, and we'll be back with our next show from the Alabama Grand Prix at Barber Motorsport Park. Fantastic venue, and let's see how the Kiwis can rise again in IndyCar.